Yes, my G's. This is just a quick little video today. I made a nice little drum and bass beat, kick, snare, hi-hat, all using the same sample, which was sent in by fellow patron supporter Kerry from Texas. Shout out to you, brother. And yeah, I was in the gym and I was hitting these. I was hearing the weights sort of slam down from the resistance machines, and I heard this sort of ringing sound, and I thought it'd be a great sound for a convolution reverb. So I made a little story about it just for fun, and Kerry went and recorded the sound in his gym, which is wicked. And basically, from all the recordings, I picked out my favourite little kind of clip, which is this sort of sound here. So you can kind of hear, like that sort of ringing metallic sound from the weights. I've actually EQ'd that, so if I just show you it without the EQ on it. Okay, so that's basically the sound. And I've used this exact sound as a texture to create a kick drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat. And then I've used it again as an audio file to layer on top of the snare. So let's have a quick listen to the drums that I've made, like this kind of loop here. So all made within phase plant again. And yeah, kick drum here. Essentially what I've done is I won't bore you with like the exact details on like the timings of everything. I'll just give you like an overview of like the concept. So the idea was to get a sine wave in and filter it a little bit here with like bandpass filter, and then combine that with a section of the sample here from Kerry's recording. But the cool thing is, with the sample section in phase plant, you can just shift it around, and I could find basically different like kind of textures to make the kick drum with. So the fundamental sine wave part is already there. But yeah, I liked this area over here, I think it was. Yeah, that kind of sounded like quite natural. It's a really small, like subtle detail for the kick, because the kick is mostly just a sine wave anyway. But when I go onto the snare drum in a second, I'm gonna use more of like the main section of this sample. And yeah, there's like a tiny bit of noise. And basically what I do is I just pitch the sine wave of the kick up high on like a really fast envelope here. And then I've got a couple of other envelopes that are like kind of controlling like the level of the sample, like the level of the sine wave, and like the level of the white noise, and just getting it really nice and short and snappy. Driving it with some distortion, and like using a transient shaper again to like shorten the sound. But yeah, like I can't really like, that's the main concept. But like if I really went into like step by step, it would just be a bit like difficult to explain, because it was like just random, going through and tweaking here and there, and like just playing with basically the shapes and the lengths of the envelopes on the different settings. So yeah, it's not like super important, but basically if you want the sounds, I'll drop them in Discord as well, the samples for non-phase plant users and also the presets for phase plant users. And here is the snare drum, which I'm quite happy with. It's quite sort of dry in a sense, and crunchy. And yeah, again, it has a sine wave, which is like a little bit higher up on it in the pitch. And also the band pass is a bit higher up. It's sort of up about 140, and it kind of just goes, it pops up to around sort of 200 hertz or so. And here I've chosen the main part of this sample. Oh, it actually sounds quite nice without that part there. Might turn this part down a little bit. Oh, that's even more natural. Let's play that with the beat quickly. That's a better snare, actually. I just made a final little adjustment that made it even better. But basically, with this snare, it's a combination of lots of like little instances of the sample. So not only do I have this one, I also have another part here where I've like, you can hear, if I just play the snare on its own. you can hear like the slight little differences, and by being able to move the sample start position around, you can use like that to like find the overall texture for the snare. And here's another one. So yeah, it's quite subtle, but that's the key. It's that I've used like 3 of the samples like in combination together at different points, and they like, yeah, quite subtle on their own, but together they all add up to like fill out the high end of the snare. And there's like a little bit of white noise here on the snare. It's a little bit more than it was on the kick, and essentially the white noise really like makes the snare a snare, so it's really important to have the white noise in there. And that goes through like another envelope just on that volume control, and then all of that like goes in together through like some more effects, like some distortion, again shaping it, turning it down the sustain a bit, and then taking out a bit of low end, giving a little boost here on an EQ in like the kind of mid-range. Yeah, just quite like that kind of frequency. Tiny bit of reverb, and again a bit more transient shaping and distortion. And that's basically, yeah, the final result that I got from the snare. But like I said, it took a little while to get through and to tweak it and play with all the timings and the envelopes, you know, with the volume control and the pitch control. But yeah, what I've done is I've layered the original sample over it, and just again like chopped out some different starting points from you know, the overall file. I've just chosen little different starting points for each kind of snare hit, and like chosen some different sort of lengths of audio, faded them a little bit differently, so every hit is a little bit different. So yeah, kind of makes it a bit more natural. And I went on to make some hats as well, which are really simple. And again, I started with the sample and I used this main sort of section here. And here with the hats, you just basically hold down the note and it's just going to keep looping on an LFO, which is set to 4/16. And so we have like this main sort of texture, like character part that comes from the sample, which has been like high passed on a filter here. And then we have like another white noise as well, also filtering. So it's like a combination, like it's like half white noise and half textured sample. So that gives it the, you know, that sample gives it the realism, you know, makes it, that kind of Foley gives it a bit of a more natural sound. And yeah, then basically what I've done is I've given that natural sound like an LFO that's a bit longer, so it's a bit more sustained. But this white noise is like a short kind of transient hit. It's the same speed, but the ramp down is just a bit sharper. So it's just, you kind of have like a shorter sound essentially. Yeah. So basically, if I take that off, you know, or if I play with the ramp here, you know, that starts to make it a lot more like an actual hi-hat. And again, there's like another little volume automation on the gain, so the whole like sound has a bit of like automation as well to give it another like kind of level of choppiness. So it's like a real hi-hat rhythm that you can just hold down. So that's basically that one. That's like not so difficult to make. Hi-hats are like the easiest to make, I think. The hardest ones are like the kicks and snares, because you've got to get the sine wave like pitching kind of right, and it's just trial and error. And then here's just a cheeky bass that's like a version of a bass that I made yesterday, the Dam Buster bass. Just kind of changed the speed and things like that on it, and that's basically the loop. But yeah, really nice, actually, pretty fat sounding drums, like done not too without too much difficulty, just a little bit of time just to get like the kind of you know, the small timings right. But yeah, essentially using that Foley sound as a texture like throughout every sort of drum layer. So I guess they kind of like all blend in with each other, you know, like sonically speaking as well by doing that. So that's also very exciting, isn't it? Yeah, but that's basically my little video for you guys today. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you've had a nice weekend. And peace out. Much love. Don't do anything I wouldn't. Ciao for now.
Too great.